And
Hello,
welcome
hello.
back, oil checkers. Here we are once again. This is the oil check, the Rona Special 3. And this is UFC Fight Night 172, which is Overeem versus Harris. So, as always, well, not as always, but as always from this moment forward until things change, the oil check is sponsored by Fight Central. And Joe, you've got a heavy endorsement for Fight Central in your non-Fight Central shirt there.
Yeah, I do not endorse Fight Central in any way, shape or form until I get some free stuff, because you've got a hoodie that you're clearly wearing today. You've got your boxing boots that you were showing off on Facebook earlier, and I'm sat here with fuck all. So until I get something, I do not endorse this company. We have nothing to do with them until I get a free T-shirt or a hoodie at least. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So look, this is the entire reason that we got the connection with Fight Central. So when I was when I was training for my fight, the fight that never was, I was looking online at purchasing a new pair of boxing boots. So the boots that I currently wear to train in are technically wrestling boots. I mean, you know, a nod's as good as a wink to a blind bat, as they say. So yeah, I mean, like, you know, it is what it is. They're a pair of wrestling boots, really. They're Adidas, and I've had them for a long, long time. I mean, they're still good. They're still, you know, they're not like, it's not like there's holes in them or anything like that. You know, obviously they're worn and used, but I fancied a new pair.
Yeah.
And obviously, because I was going to be fighting, I thought I better get something that looks pretty good. So I was looking online and I found these Rival boxing boots.
Yeah.
And obviously Rival gear is generally quite expensive. However, the boots were quite a reasonable price. They were only about 50, 60 quid on eBay. So I was like, why? You know what I'm like? I'm a bit like fucking, you know, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So I was a bit like, why are they so cheap? Are they like, you know, like, because have you seen like
fake ones? Yeah.
Well, no, not fake. Sometimes certain brands, like luxury expensive brands, will then make a cheaper version of the brand, like to appeal to the masses. So like, as an example, like Oliver Sweeney shoes, right? And so a pair of Oliver Sweeney shoes are like £300-400 for a pair of hand-stitched, you know, leather, you know, London, you know, made, you know, quality handmade shoes. However, Oliver Sweeney also there's also a thing called Sweeney London, and Sweeney London shoes are like 100 quid a pair, yeah, but they're obviously not as good. Yeah. So I was thinking, have Rival done the same thing? They've got their boxing gloves, like, you know, they've got their like some of their boxing gloves are like 150 quid a pair and stuff like that, you know, and obviously, you know, Rival gear is used in, you know, it's been used in, you know, major world title fights and stuff like that. So it's good quality stuff. So I was thinking, is it fucking like a shit version of the good stuff? And apparently, no, it's not. They are just a reasonable priced boxing boot. So I posted up on Facebook saying, does anyone know anything about these boxing boots?
Are they like last seasons or something like that? Is that why they're cheap then?
I genuinely don't know, but like I say, they're pretty good. And basically the guy from Fight Central reached out to me and he said, "Hi mate," he said, well, basically it's a guy called Andrew Dunn, and he used to work at a company called fightstore.com, which was based in Manchester way, and they used to do a lot of stuff. Basically, they used to do a lot of the events. So whenever I was emceeing a show, I'd turn up and they'd have a stall there. And it was these guys, I can't remember the name, I think was it Crowther? I can't remember now. Anyway, the guys there, it was a couple of brothers that sort of owned the firm, and they would always chuck me a hoodie or, you know, a pair of shorts or whatever, whenever I was emceeing a show that they were thingy. So obviously Andrew Dunn, he was part of the firm, so he knew me through that. And And yeah, he reached out and he was very generous and he said, look, he said, if you want, he says, I'll hook you up a pair of those boots for your charity fight.
Yeah.
You know, as a bit of a sort of sponsorship. I was like, that's amazing. So
Good
very,
man.
very generous of him, real nice. And then obviously I got my fucking face caved in, and then the fight got cancelled, etc. So the fight's been rescheduled for November potentially, but he is obviously he's keen to work with us. Well, work with me. You ain't got shit yet, and you know he's keen to work with us. So I'm sure we'll put the word out for him, and I'm sure he'll chuck you a hoodie and a t-shirt or whatever as well. But yeah, so anyway, because of this reason, the generosity of Fight Central, okay, the oil check is now sponsored by Fight Central, and their website is www.fight-central.co.uk, and they are the purveyors of all apparel.
Come across here.
Yeah. Fight Central. And they are purveyors of all fightwear and apparel, boxing gloves, you know, all that kind of stuff. So if you need any fightwear whatsoever, MMA, Thai boxing, etc., please go to fight-central.co.uk and use the discount code The Oil Check. So that's all one word, all lowercase, The Oil Check. And if you use discount code The Oil Check, you will receive 10% off your order from Fight Central. So that is our sponsors. Fight Central. Go there, buy some shit. Go there and buy some shit.
Yeah.
And as always, if you want to contact us, you can do so by telephone or text on 07510 954 793. That's 07510 954 793. You can email us on theoilcheck@hotmail.com. That's theoilcheck@hotmail.com. And you can contact us on any form of social media at The Oil Check. So that's Instagram and Facebook. So, I mean, when I say any forms of social media, I mean the adult ones. The adult ones.
Yeah, we're not on TikTok. We're not on TikTok.
Not on TikTok or Snapchat. So, but yes, so The Oil Check. So it's, the Facebook page is The Oil Check. The Twitter and the Instagram are both at The Oil Check. That's at The Oil Check. So,
yeah,
we actually got contacted this week.
Yes, well, God, we did. Yeah.
Now,
I've got a bone to pick with someone.
So this is an unusual. So this is contacted on the wonders of modern technology. Oh, yeah, that was probably his phone number getting shown around. So
yeah, good, go for it.
So we got a text message in this week on our wonderful, top quality piece of technology. Now,
our only fan.
From our fan, we've got a fan.
Our one fan.
But it's a dual contact, and also this is the first time we have a self-nomination for Cunt of the Week.
Exactly, yeah. Well justified, I think.
So Chris Scadden. I'll read out the message. And I'm sure, and our new, and if any of our listeners or watchers would like to comment on this particular situation, feel free to contact us on the number that we've said before. So the message reads: "Soz lads, I thought that Pennick sounded dishy and asked if you could go visual. Turns out he's even uglier than Sledge. I'd therefore like to nominate myself for Cunt of the Week." And that was from...
You're more than welcome, Scadden. No worries, mate.
Chris Scadden. So, yes. So, as it turns out, we have a fan, and that fan has messaged in on the top quality piece of technological equipment. And basically, the main reason they messaged in was to let you know that you are indeed one ugly-looking motherfucker, Joe Pennick. I mean, don't get me wrong. He said you were even uglier than me. So, I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10 of ugliness, I'm a 9.5, you're a 10, But anyway.
What you gonna do?
So anyway, so Scadden, we will take that nomination. So you, my friend, have really won Cunt of the Week. Cunt of the week.
Cunt of the week. Yeah. I mean, the guy's no oil painting, so I can't really take anything he says seriously anyway. So,
I mean, he's got a face like a blind cobbler's thumb, to be honest with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so nothing he says is really is valid anyway. So,
exactly.
Here comes.
So yeah, fuck off, Chris Scadden. However, do keep messaging in comedy gold like that.
Yeah, so feel free to keep messaging in because we like getting messages. No one else does. So yeah.
And if anyone's got a reply for Scadden, please send it in via the usual. Oh, I'm sure you can fucking stalk him down on Facebook. He's not very hard to find. Yeah. He's on my friend list, Chris Scadden. Send him a message calling him a cunt if you want. But like I say, if you have any other nominations for Cunt of the Week, please do not hesitate to get in touch. That includes you, Scadden. So we also have what's happening? Is that Mental Harold?
No, I'm just getting excited. I'm waiting for a beer delivery, and some guys just turned up in a van, but I don't know. It doesn't look like it. It's from a local brewery. A lot of the local breweries now are doing like deliveries because the pubs aren't taking anything, so they're doing like free delivery. Yeah. So I've ordered a load of beer for the weekend, and I was hoping that might be it, but it looks to be some gardener or something. Don't know. Anyway,
I don't know.
I might get distracted.
You did look very keen there. It was. I now understand why. So we have also a very special guest this week. So soon, very soon, we're going to be inviting on our special guest of the week, who is Ian M16 Butlin. Yes. So one of the infamous Butlin twins and one of the even more infamous Butlin brothers, former amateur boxer and former professional MMA fighter, and all-round sound lad. Me and Ian have been pals for quite some time. It's quite appropriate that we both made our professional debuts on the same night and on the same show. His obviously fighting, mine was MCing. So the first show I ever MC'd, Cage Warriors 4 in Portsmouth in 2003. Yeah. So it was July 2003. That was also the show that Ian made his professional debut on. So we're going to be talking to Ian about his fighting career, all things Butlin related, and also we'll be going through the fights from Wednesday and also looking forward to the fights this weekend. So I mean, the amount of content that we're getting to put out at the moment is unprecedented with the number of fights going on. So it's good
because there's nothing else to talk about. There's not much going on in news and shit, is there? The cunts of the week are just sort of nominating themselves at the moment, so that's good. But there's lots of fights going on, so that's the most important thing.
Well, you are correct. I mean, like in my so I was taking notes earlier to about what we were going to talk about, and so I've written in my notepad under the section news and shit, I've just written fuck all.
Yeah.
So there is little
going on.
There was a couple of bits, but it's all just fucking Rona lockdown bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it ain't too much going on. But like I say, so because of the lack of news, we're going to bring on Ian Butlin, who's going to entertain our listeners and viewers with regaling them with plenty stories of old school UK MMA. And I'm pretty sure that he's going to have certain things to say about Widge Millward being a cunt. So it's quite a popular topic these days among our guests. Now, obviously, again, I mean, Joe, so it's been what? It's been like a couple of days. It's been days since you and I had a chat. So we spoke on, we podcasted on Tuesday. It is now Friday. So Wednesday, Thursday. So it's been a massive 3 days in between podcasts. Now, obviously, it's 3 days in lockdown in the Pennick household. I'm about to, hold on.
Brace yourself.
I got a knife handy. I'm gonna put it here. Okay, Pennick. Yeah. What you been up to?
Very little. Apart from you visiting earlier.
I did. We had a socially distant quick wee visit.
Yes, we did. Yes, because you've been to the hospital today.
I did, yes. Well, that was part of what I've been doing. So I went to the hospital today. So as our listeners and readers know, we did discuss it earlier. So in the middle of March, I fractured my orbital bone. And I don't know if you can see how good that is. Anyway, so I had an operation where I had a titanium plate. Basically, the surgeon sliced open my face there, and you can barely even see it. I mean, what a fantastic... She was hot as well, the doctor. I mean, like, if anyone's going to slice your face open, you want a fit doctor doing it. She did have a ridiculous wedding ring on, so she's obviously married to some rich fucker. But so anyway, cut under my eye there and inserted a titanium plate into my eye socket. So obviously that was about, it's coming up for a couple of months. So basically I had to go for a checkup, and went for a checkup, and all was good. So yeah, got the all clear from the doctor to go ahead and start impact training. She goes, you can go ahead and do impact training. I was like, what? She went like running and stuff. I didn't have the heart to tell her that I'd already been hitting pads and stuff. But yeah, it was, she was like, yeah, you can go ahead and do impact training. Obviously, I've still got to wait another month or so until I can spar. But you know, it's obviously not an issue at the moment, seeing as all the gyms are closed. So, like I said before, if you're going to get your face caved in, probably a convenient time to do it is when you don't have to leave the house to do anything. So yes, obviously with I mean, hold on. Let's just check no one's listening. So obviously the main reason I came to see you is you work in the hospital, don't you?
I not at the moment, but yeah, obviously do the hospital radio there, so I have a
hospital radio aficionado, and part of your recompense for being a hospital radio volunteer is that you get a parking permit to park in the car park at the Royal Berks Hospital. So when I popped round this morning, I couldn't believe it. Your parking permit just fell out of your window. And I went,
yeah, I know.
Oh, Joe. And by then you'd shut the window, so I had to take it with me.
Exactly.
But as it transpires, it was a wasted journey because the fucking barrier was up at the hospital. So
yeah, normally is anyway.
Sorry.
Normally is.
So essentially, the only thing that's still bad about my eye, it's not even my eye, it's my face. So basically, you've got a nerve in your eye there that feeds your entire face. So basically, like this half of me nose, this part of me top lip, including me teeth. Yeah, so all of that is still like numb. It feels like I've just come out the dentist. So the doctor said that should get better within 6 to 12 months. She said if it doesn't get better, if it isn't better after 12 months, the chances are it probably won't get better. She said, but 99.9% of people regain the sensation.
There's another van's turned up.
Innit? Fuck you and your van. So apart from my face, watched that Gangs of London this week. It was all right. It was there was certain parts. I mean, it was a bit far fetched. You said you watched one episode, didn't you?
I watched the first episode, which was an hour and a half.
Yeah.
That was a bit off-putting. It went on a bit. It was all right. I mean, the fight scenes were entertaining, but they were very unrealistic. You know, the one guy taking out a whole pub of people and that, it was a bit sort of, a bit far-fetched, but it was entertaining. I'll probably go back to it.
He had a dart. What are you talking about? He had a dart.
Yeah.
I mean, he went, someone went, he just fucked up 6 people. He went, it was 8 actually, but I had a dart. I thought that was like the best line in the entire fucking thing.
Yeah.
But then, like,
they were like fighting him one-on-one, weren't they? They didn't try and bundle him or anything. He was fighting them one at a time. It was a bit stupid.
Well, if you think that's unbelievable and you think that's a bit far-fetched, wait until you see what happens later on. Like I say, go and have a look at it. I mean, it's entertaining. It's entertaining, but there are a lot of bits in it where you're like, yeah, fuck off, mate. So watch that.
I think a few people have said they couldn't take him seriously. That Joe Cole. I mean, he's about 23, isn't he? And he's supposed to be some gang boss. It's a bit like.
Well, he was because his dad was the gang boss, and his dad died.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the thing is like his dad's a paddy, right? So his
Yes,
dad.
Cole Meany, wasn't it?
Yeah. So you can imagine his dad's some fucking rough kiss me arse paddy gangster, right?
Yeah.
So he's obviously made a gazillion pounds, and what he's done is he's then he must have sent the kid to like a posh private school. I mean, this obviously they don't say this in the thing. This is just my assumption because he speaks with a very posh accent. So he's going around. He's like, why are we going to have to do this for fuck's sake? Oh, for fuck's sake! And I'm like, yeah, you're a bit fucking posh to be a Cockney gangster, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, you could have fucking given a bit of, you could have given him a bit of an East End twang.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it, you know, look,
Does it get better?
Was it the best thing on the TV? No. Was it entertaining? Yeah, it was good. You know, it was. You know, if you set your expectations of reality to one side for a second, you can enjoy it. So I quite did that. I watched the film Outbreak. Have you seen that with Dustin Hoffman?
Nah.
It's about.
I saw the trailer. Didn't you share the trailer the other day?
I did. Yeah. So it's quite scary. In this current climate of disease spreading. So yeah, that was it. Wellesley shared a link on my thing, which was they're making an Epstein documentary.
Are they?
Yeah. If you have a look, Wellesley shared the link on my wall. He was like, "This will interest you." So yeah, so shout out to Wellesley. They're making a documentary about Epstein called Filthy Rich, and I'm like, it should be called Didn't Kill Himself. But yeah, so they're gonna. I mean, I don't know obviously what angle they're gonna go in at, and I'm assuming if it's about his money, it's going to be about him being. It's about going to be his life rather than his death. But we shall see. And then last night I was watching Public Enemies, and a bit of MMA in here. So Public Enemies is it's a Johnny Depp film. And it's about John Dillinger.
The old, the during Prohibition sort of period,
like the Depression,
yeah.
And all that. But anyway, like halfway through it, like Don Fry fucking makes an appearance. I was like, Don Fry with his big fucking man.
I haven't seen the film, but I saw your post earlier. So yeah, legend.
And then this Saturday night at 8:30. I am doing the second edition of the Friends Quiz.
Yeah.
So everyone who, if any of our listeners are interested, you can basically come on my Facebook page, Andy Sledge, and it will be I'll be going live on Facebook about 8:15. And then the quiz will start at about 8:30. So basically that gives you enough time to get on the page, share the link with your friends. You know, sit down, get your paper, pens and papers ready, and then we're going to be going live at 8:30 on Saturday night with the second edition of the Friends Quiz. So basically, Wes Merch has been doing the Corona, what he calls the Corona Quiz. So he about 2 or 3 times a week he's been doing it quite regularly, and very, very good quizzes. And it's he's quite a personality, and he's got a few catchphrases and all that. It's quite good. But yeah, so he is a Friends fan himself. So he likes, instead of asking the questions, he likes to answer them. So he asked me to step in. So with that, what I'm going to do is
I'm waiting for the Sopranos one. That's going to be more up my street.
Yeah. I'm going to do that
I did do your Friends one, but it was mainly the missus answering them because I'm not as good as her.
Yeah.
Apart from your Tank Abbott question.
Yeah. Right, so I've just messaged Ian there, so he will be. Should be able to bring him into the conversation at some point in the very near future. So again, you know, what have I been doing? I've been doing a lot of TV watching because there's fuck all else to do. And I was expecting my boy to come round today, but his mother's just sent me a message saying that he's got the fucking shits. So
we don't want that.
Exactly. So thingy. Right. So if we just hold on 1 second. Right. Here we go. So we are calling Ian. And like I say, the wonders of modern technologies will hopefully add him in. Boo, 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 boo. And then we can... Hey, hey!
There you go. Hey!
Oh, hello, mate.
Frozen.
Well, we've got a picture. Hello? Oh.
Oh, no.
We'll give it a minute.
Oh, I can hear something now.
Yeah.
No, it's gone again.
Oh, that's a shame. Hold on. Right, let me...
You can edit this bit.
Yeah. Right, what I'll do is I'll remove him from the call and then try again. There we go. See, look at that. Fantastic live technology, as always, here at the Oil Check.
Are you doing this? Are you on your Mac?
Yeah. Oh, it says unavailable. Well, we'll try. Well, what we'll do, let's go through news and shit, and then we'll try again, and then we'll try again in a couple of minutes. So, news and shit. News and shit. So, like I said,
what's been going on?
Fuck all. The only thing, well, I mean, as you can probably expect. So again, I had a look on oh, here we go. Oh, right, he's messaged me back, so I'm going to try and add him again. Yeah, so basically I tried, I had a look on the Google News page, and as you can expect, it was all just lockdown, corona once again. As you can imagine, one of the things that I did notice was that a lot of the people that have been charged with things to do with the coronavirus, they've all had their charges dropped. So obviously the old bill fucking, I haven't got a clue what they've been doing. So dozens wrongly charged under lockdown laws, the CPS say. So there's almost 15,000 fines for alleged breaches of the laws, but a lot of them have been wrongly issued. So right, hold on. There's just sent me another message there. I'll get it on my MacBook instead of HP. 2 minutes. Okay. Right, he's just changing his thing. Yeah, so basically the old bill of fucking arresting people for being in breach of the coronavirus laws, and a lot of them haven't got a fucking clue what they've been doing, what they're actually doing. So if you are in a situation where you do get arrested over the coronavirus, appeal that shit many times over. And check this, right? So there was something that stood out for me. There was one story. Now I try to normally avoid the more the darker side of the news. I try, like, if we are going to bring you a news story, I would like it for it to be somewhat of a light-hearted nature.
Yeah, either someone that's done something admirable, or someone that's fucked up in a way that we can take the piss out of.
Exactly.
That's the general way it goes.
However, that's not. Well, it is the case to a certain degree. So there was a thing that said there was a headline that attracted my attention. Said 2 arrested over murder of Salford dad shot 5 times in his Audi in Costa del Sol. So I used to live in the Costa del Sol. So instantly I was like, right, what the fuck's going on there? I mean, it is called the Costa del Crime for a reason. It is just full of gangsters and drug dealers. So it says here 2 men have been arrested after a Salford dad was shot dead in Spain. And it says here, right, so Right, I'm going to read you this line, and then I'm going to ask you for your an opinion. Right, so it says here,
okay.
Businessman Peter Andrew Williamson, aged 39, and who was nicknamed Snaggle, was shot 5 times as he parked his Audi outside his villa in Riviera del Sol near Fuengirola. So,
yeah.
oh, hold on. Is that Ian? Hey, is that
Looks
you?
like it could be.
Right, I've still got no sound. Wait a minute.
Oh, we can hear you. Right, we hear you. Yeah, just turn your shit up, mate.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Brilliant. I can't hear a fucking thing. Wait a minute.
Is that focus all right?
It must be.
Yeah, that's them. Hold on.
So,
Try now.
yeah, see, unplug them.
Still can't hear anything.
Unplug your headphones.
Yeah.
Is that better now? Can you hear it now?
Wait a minute.
You still can't hear it. Volume. Turn the volume up.
Volume up. Turn the volume up.
No, on your computer. Turn the volume up on your computer.
Wait a minute.
And I thought we were fucking terrible at the
Yeah.
technology.
I can't hear a fucking thing you're saying, Sledge. Give me 2 minutes. I want to go to my settings. Wait a minute. I don't know. It's fucked.
Right, anyway. So,
Yeah, carry on. Anyway, so tell us about his gangster. Yeah.
it says here, businessman Peter Andrew Williamson, aged 39 and nicknamed Snaggle, was shot 5 times as he parked his Audi outside his villa in Riviera del Sol near Fuengirola last November. Okay, so, is this man a drug dealer or is he a drug dealer?
I'm just wondering where the name Snaggles come from.
Snaggle,
Is that something from someone off Fraggle Rock or something like that?
Snaggletooth or something? Maybe he's got a dodgy
Snaggletooth
or something.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, like I say, when anybody in the Costa del Sol has to use the word
Right, talk now, Sledge.
businessman before their fucking their name. Businessman Peter Andrew Williamson. Right, so he sounds like a drug dealer. Now, originally from wherever, Kersal, Mr. Williamson, father of 2, had just returned home from the gym when his killer pulled up alongside him in another vehicle before speeding away. Mr. Williamson's mother, who lives on the same resort, was by his side after he was shot, desperate to save him. 2 suspects have been held. One, who is British and has links to Salford, was arrested near Murcia in Spain. The second was arrested at an undisclosed location. And now this is the best one. All right, so we've got here. Business records show Mr. Williamson was registered as a self-employed agricultural sector intermediary, specializing in international trade. Right, I'm going to repeat that for you. So he was a self-employed agricultural sector intermediary specializing in international trade. Now, tell me if not, surely that is just a posh way of saying drug dealer.
Oh.
Right. I don't know. Ian sent me a picture.
Of what?
Well, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. He's typing a message there. So I can see him.
Yeah, I can see him.
Yeah. No options for audio. Yeah, fuck knows. Is it your computer settings, not Skype settings? Right. Right, I'm just messaging him back now. Hold on. I'm trying to. So he's saying like the settings on his right, he says he's done that. Oh, right. Yeah, I don't know what to suggest. I'm like, I don't know what to suggest, mate. So, right. Oh. Fucking hell. Oh, I've muted him now.
You can't unmute, can you?
I don't. No, it won't let me unmute.
No, it doesn't let me either. You can mute people, but you can't unmute them.
Right. I'm gonna try again. Right. Hello, mate. Still nothing?
No. Okay.
Ah, for fuck's sake. What about on your phone? What about doing it on your phone? Right. Right. Try on your phone. Right. Okay, so
You're gonna have to edit a lot of this, mate.
yeah. Right, so I've taken them off. Okay, right. Okay, well look, let's just carry on with what he's with what was happening, and then if we can get him back on, we can get him back on. If not, we'll just have to. Unfortunately, we might have to just call it as a bad job. So,
time in.
What you want to time out? Oh, you want
time in.
All right. Okay. So anyway, yes. So like I say, businessman, Mr. Williamson was registered as a self-employed agricultural sector intermediary specializing in international trade. He's a drug dealer, isn't he?
He's back.
Oh, what, Ian is?
Yeah.
Hey, can you hear now? Anything?
Nope.
No.
Oh, let's crack on anyway. We're here forever.
Right. Right, hold on. Take out the headphones. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, so it says here, the suspect held in Spain is remanded in jail following behind closed doors, part of an ongoing murder investigation. Spanish officials confirmed the second arrest had taken place in an undisclosed location in the UK. So, but then, right, so blah, 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 right, so then here. So the arrest is said to have taken place on Monday when officers reportedly seized 21 kilos of cannabis resin from the house where the British suspect was living, close to a village a short drive from the city of Murcia. So basically, the bloke that shot him had 21 kilos of puff in his house. Now, so he's a drug dealer, right? So do you think...
Come on, where them fuck headphones, Dave's?
So he's a drug dealer. Do you think, right, so the bloke that shot him was a drug dealer, and the bloke who got shot is described as a fucking, as a agricultural intermediary. So do you think that was one drug dealer shooting another drug dealer?
It's a bit fishy, isn't it?
Exactly. So that was the thing. So yeah, well, let's have a quick look through then. So did you watch any of the fights?
I have not watched any of the fights. I've seen the results, but I've not seen any of the fights from Wednesday. No.
Yeah. Well, there was I actually, it sounds weird. I've watched basically nearly all of them up until like the couple of main events, because the download that I had fucked up. So I missed out on the two main events. So
you watched all the dog shit and
I watched all actually there was a couple of there was the second fight in.
Yeah. Brian Kelleher
was really good. Yeah. So Brian Kelleher beat Hunter Azure. But the thing was, like in the first round, that Hunter Azure looked like real fucking good. He was a far superior in sort of in every range really. And
would you have given him the first round?
Yeah, 100% would have given him the first round. And whether he tired himself out or whether, I mean, that Brian Kelleher came out and said that he was a slow starter, but he came onto him in the second and he caught him with his left hook, fucking switched him off, slipped into the side and then come back with it. It was absolutely astounding. A very, very, very good punch. But then apart from that, there was a couple of decisions which were, essentially nothing really too exciting. It says here there was it said so that Thiago Moises beat Michael Johnson. It says here by heel hook. I thought an Achilles lock. It didn't look like a heel hook when he was going in for it, but it was quite funny. So he was getting battered really during the first round, and then his corner was obviously like, "Look, you need to fucking sort that out." So he's basically run out for the second round, dove down, grabbed him by the ankle, and pulled out the submission, which was quite impressive. So if he could have
another example of someone losing the first round and then going back out in the second.
So Andrei Arlovsky took the decision against Philip Lenz. Andrei Arlovsky still doing the damn thing. It was quite interesting in the fact that he actually kept on changing southpaw during the fight, which was quite unusual. Yeah. And then Ray Borg lost the split decision to Ricky Simon. Again, nothing to write home about there. Drew Dober finished Alex Hernandez. Ben Rothwell took a split decision over OSP. So we were writing what we were saying in that OSP as 2 minutes. So OSP was moving up to heavyweight. I don't know if that's a permanent move for him or not. But yeah, it was a split. I mean, moving up to heavyweight and taking on Ben Rothwell was a bit, for your first heavyweight fight. It was a bit
big heavyweight. Yeah.
It was a bit of an ask, really. But a split decision. So it was. I mean, they both had their moments during the fight. I read the report, but yeah, Ben Rothwell took that decision. And then shock of the night. So certainly not what I expected to happen. Was that Anthony Smith lost by TKO in round 5 to Glover Teixeira. Now, Anthony Smith has been on a bit of a tear. He his last 2 fights were, you know, he took John Jones to a decision. And, you know, obviously it was clear that John Jones won that fight, but, you know, to go 5 rounds with John Jones oh, that wasn't Ian coming back on, was it?
Yeah, I'm here.
You there?
There he is.
Can you hear us?
I'm here.
Hey!
How you doing, guys?
Hey, oh, Mike. Well, I'm very, very glad that you're here, mate. I'm very, very glad that you're here. What
technical
you,
issues
you, were
there.
you were trying to be posh with your fucking Beats headphones, and you've come back with something that looks like fucking you're working in the pit crew of a Formula One car.
Well, yeah. So slightly better than Dr. Dre. Rubbish.
Innit? Who the fuck's Dr. Dre, eh? Anyway.
Why have you forgot about Dre?
Exactly. I don't know who he is. Can't remember.
No,
So,
headphones.
so here we go to our listeners. And well, watchers now, because we're going to be putting this up on YouTube. Our guest is finally here with the appropriate headphone wear, and a big oil check welcome to Ian M16 Butlin. Hey! So, how you doing, mate?
Hey, that's funny. You announced me for my first fight as well.
Do you know what? We said that earlier. So
yeah, we were just talking about that.
we were talking about it, how that you and I both made our professional debuts on Cage Warriors 4.
Yeah.
You were fighting, obviously, and I was chatting shit in a tuxedo. And yet here we are, fucking 17 years later, both as handsome as ever.
Yeah.
Few miles on the clock.
A little bit heavier.
Yeah, a few miles on the clock, and here we are about to chat some bollocks. So obviously the lockdown's pretty fucking rough for everyone. You yourself have been obviously you've been head coach recently at was it Rio Grappling Club?
Yeah, that's right. I coach in Rio Grappling Club England. So obviously we've got Rio Grappling Club Scotland. We've got Paul McVeigh and James Doolan and people like that up there. The Poland, Italy. We've been over at the Italy camps. We've been around with all the international guys. But Rio Grappling England. We've also got Sean, who was a black belt from South Africa, who's down in Norfolk. So the north of England I'm covering mainly with the help of Jamie Hay over in Manchester. So I've got a good team of guys.
So have you managed to actually do any training much during the lockdown at all, or has it been completely fucked?
No, we've been grappling from a social distance with a few key guys.
Well, no, yeah, because I saw that you had your kids out in the back garden, and you were pitting the girls against each other.
Yeah. Well, I grapple my son. He's the same height as me, but obviously I've got a little bit of a weight advantage, so I'm still managing to get the better of that. But it's getting to the point where if I let him get on my back and start to get a choke, I have to start worrying.
Yeah,
so
mate.
He's getting better. I think he's 12 now, so and he's going to be a lot bigger than me. His mum's like a big Amazon warrior, so I think he's going to be taller than me. Yeah. So yeah, at the moment I'm getting the better of him while I can.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, mate, I'm in the same position now. So my boy, he's literally about half an inch shorter than me.
I've seen the pictures of the boxing, yeah.
16, mate. And it was about, I don't know, it was a few months ago now. We were like just not like proper sparring, but we were doing like a three shot spar drill. So, you know, you throw 3 shots, he throws 3 shots.
Give and take, yeah.
Yeah, bit of give and take. So we're in the ring in the boxing club. And you know, we're just doing the 3 shots give and take, 3 shot give and take, and he's gone like that. So he's at southpaw as well, dirty cackhand.
Yeah.
So
should be drowned at birth.
Exactly. So he's throwing his 1-2, yeah, and he looked down, like the oldest fucking trick in the book, yeah. Look low, throw high. So he's looked low like that. I've gone down to cover my ribs. And he's just come round with a fucking lead hook and cracked me in the side of the head. And like proper, I was like, woo. Yeah, you know when like you get your bell rung, mate? Yeah, proper fucking rung me bell, mate. So I was like, you little motherfucker. So yeah, like I used to be able to, you know, when we were training before, like when he was a lot younger, obviously like a couple of years ago, you'd be able to get into spar with him and I'd just like stick my chin out like that. and he'd be throwing shots, and I'd just be moving back and forward, and it was all right. And now, you know, you can't be doing that shit now, mate. You stick your chin out and he lands one on you there, mate. You're gonna know that you've been hit. So, yeah, I feel that, mate. Feel it all the way. So obviously we were just discussing last Wednesday. Did you watch any of the fights on Wednesday? Did you get a chance to have a look?
Yeah, I watched. I'll tell you what I watched. I watched Cruz against what's the little guy that talks loads of shit with gold medal?
No, that's Saturday, mate. You're talking. Saturday. You know there was another event. There was another event on Wednesday, don't you?
Have I completely missed this? Yeah, I didn't
Yeah. But don't worry. Okay, well, let's take a step back. What did you think of Saturday's event then? So, yes, Dominic Cruz and Henry Cejudo. I've got my opinion. What were you saying?
I could see why the referee was jumping in to stop it, but I just think that the referee's reactions were a little bit slow. At the time when he got knocked down with the knee, I could have agreed with it. But then he got back to his knees. He was starting to move around. He was taking a lot of shots, and the control from Cejudo was pretty good. So, you know, I can see an argument either way, but I can see why he was upset.
Well, I mean, I personally think that he was being a bit of a prick about it.
I think he was afterwards. I do agree that his conduct afterwards, I think, has been pretty bad. The complaining about alcohol and cigarette smells and stuff like that, I think is like bordering on pathetic. But like I said, if you look at just the actual incident, I just think the referee was maybe a little slow jumping in. But then, you know, if it had jumped in early, would people have complained he jumped in early? The fact was, Cejudo had very good control of him from that side and was landing good shots.
Well, that's it. So, I mean, I went back and watched it a couple of times. So he's hit him with a knee. He's landed. And when he landed, his fucking jaw went west. He was like
the knee was solid, wasn't it?
And then so Cejudo stepped in with a big right hand, caught him with that big right hand, flush. And then he's gone down. And then he started hitting him with the lefts. Now, he hit him with 13 unanswered blows. Now, from blow 8, he was prone. So the palms of his hands. The palms of his hands were flat on the mat, and his face was on the mat, and he was getting fucking punched in the side of the head. Now, you know, you've got to intelligently defend yourself. And I don't care who you are. Being fucking face down on the mat isn't an intelligent defense.
That's it. The argument, you know, his argument was I was trying to stand back up, and if you're out, you don't try and stand back up. But standing back up isn't intelligent defense. You're not covering over your face. He wasn't defending. So, yeah, like I say, I'm not going to argue with the stoppage. And I think referees get a lot more abuse if they let a fight go too long. And like you said, there's so many unanswered shots. I think it's hard to argue for the fact that he was wrong for jumping in.
I thought the referee, to be honest, I thought the referee did a fantastic job. And it's like, and what a lot of people don't understand, right, is look, as I know that there are a lot of the judges for MMA in America, the ones that are employed, you know, by the Athletic Commission. You know, you've got the likes of Adelaide Bird and fucking, you know, people like that, right? You know, Cecil Peoples. You know, they have got a very questionable pedigree when it comes to their ability to actually judge a fight. However, one thing I don't think is in question is that anybody who is a referee at that level has genuinely, they are like, you know, if you look at
they're the cream of the crop, aren't they?
Exactly, the creme de la creme. You know, so that is, you know, refereeing in the UFC is the equivalent of being a top 10 world class fighter.
I agree.
So for Cruz to then call into question the integrity of that referee, when that, bearing in mind, Cruz fights 2 or 3 times a year, if he's healthy. That referee probably referees 40 or 50 shows a year.
Pretty good going if you've been drinking and smoking, isn't it?
Well, I mean, the thing is, right, I used to smoke cigarettes and I used to referee fights. So, you know, but nobody could come up to you and say, you've smoked a cigarette. That impacts on your ability to be a referee. That's got one or the other have got nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? I can smoke a cigarette and referee a fight immediately afterwards, and it would have no effect on my refereeing ability.
I've just got to go somewhere.
You're going to go and get your beers. Now, obviously, if you are pissed up, that's a different fucking kettle of fish altogether.
Yeah.
Now, but I just genuinely think there was a lot of sour grapes by Cruz. He was looking for an excuse for the loss. Do you think the fact that they're working in fucking coronavirus, they're being tested for coronavirus, do you think there might have been a small chance he might have got some alcohol hand wipe and rubbed it on his hands before the fight?
What car are you? White van.
Who else is talking there?
No, Joe is getting a delivery of some beers, so he hasn't muted his microphone. So he's basically just waiting for a delivery guy to bring him some beer for the weekend. So
Right.
Anyway, on that subject.
So yeah, on that subject, I do think that that's a pretty good reason for smelling of alcohol is the fact that everyone was covered in alcohol wipes. And the coronavirus. That's if he even did smell of alcohol, because it sounded to me it smelled of excuses.
Yeah, exactly. So, what? I mean, are you? What's your sort of level of fandom these days with regards to the UFC? Because I know me personally, if it wasn't for this podcast and the fact that I've got to talk about it a little bit, I probably wouldn't watch as many fights as I do these days. I'm more of a tune in for the big special ones, but these fight nights, they generally go unnoticed.
Yeah, generally now, I mean, I've started watching a little bit more UFC again, just because there's a few fighters that I like to watch. Obviously Khabib being one of them. I commentated on a couple of Khabib's earlier fights in Russia, Kiev and Russia, and he was a standout star then for M1. And because M1 now have got this deal with the UFC where if they win the M1 title and then defend it, they get the UFC contract. So there's a lot of guys who I've seen working their way up to UFC level and then go on to fight in the UFC. So that's been the reason that I've started to watch the UFC a little bit more. Obviously, I'm still working along with M1, and it's nice to see the guys progress. And I've said for a long time that I think that the standard of the Russian fighters is very high compared to over here, and I think the reason that they weren't getting onto the UFC and stuff is because of the names. It's hard to get behind someone with a complicated name like Nurmagomedov, and I think that Khabib, because he's so good, has actually managed to cross that barrier now where you're seeing a lot more Russian fighters getting through. And I think he's been like the gateway for that. I think he can be thanked for a lot of the Russian guys. And now the deal, M1 and UFC had a long history of a bit of not an argument, but a rivalry trying to get Fedor into the UFC. But I think now all that's sort of smoothed over. Vadim seems to have a very good relationship with the UFC and this deal for them passing on. So since that's happened, I've definitely started watching a lot more UFC again, just because it's guys that I know and I've got behind.
Okay, and so tell us a bit more about M1 and so how long have you been with M1 and what do you actually do for them?
I fought for M1 in Japan and America in 2009. Then I retired because I had fractures in my face. So
we were just talking about mine there a second ago.
Yeah, well, I had five facial fractures when I came back from America. So I got all that dealt with and stuff, and they'd told me not to do any head contact or anything like that. So it timed nicely. I was already commentating. I've been commentating now since 2004. So on Grant Waterman's show, if you remember the Atala versus D'Souza, that was my first ever show. So and obviously Roberto Atala, who was Rio Grappling Club that I'm a part of. So what happened then was 2010, the next season of M1, Ian Freeman had started to do the commentary because Jimmy Smith and that had moved on to Bellator. And so I got brought in to work with Ian. So it was like what the Japanese called as double Ian. So I've been working with M1 since 2010 on the commentary, which as you can imagine, is brilliant. We get to go see lots of different venues go around. You know, Japan. I was supposed to be in Korea 30th of January. That was the first show that got stopped because of the coronavirus. Then there was China later on, and obviously all those got stopped. So I haven't been doing any UK shows until the M1 got cancelled. Then I rang round, got some jobs on some UK shows. I managed to do WCFC in Manchester, and then the couple of days after that, all the UK shows were shut down as well. So it's been a funny one. I've been sound testing the last few weeks now for M1 TV, and I'm doing another sound check at 6 p.m. tonight. Ready to do my first live show in Belarus, but from my living room on the headset like this, which is why I've just been panicking that my speakers didn't work. So hopefully sound check and everything goes all right today, and then it's going to be part of M1 TV.
Nice. So, I mean, like that. Well, a couple of things. So you mentioned obviously all the different places you have been. I mean, like I went to Chechnya with Cage Warriors. Went to Kiev. You know, I've been to a couple of different places, but you've been to some fucked up places as well, haven't you? Like fucking a lot of the stands and that, haven't you? Like Kurdistan and all of that kind of stuff.
Well, Ingushetia is like the South Caucasus of Russia. That's like, so you fly into like Nazran Airport or somewhere near there, so it's right next to Chechnya. I think it's the bit they were fighting off in this Chechen war. But we'll go in there. So before I go anywhere, I'm like, do you know what? I'm going to look it up on the Wiki Travel and see what it says.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, so I've done that, and it says, emphatically do not visit this place. You know, you're at risk of kidnapping stuff from government forces and blah, blah, blah. So I'm looking a little bit worried. And Ian Freeman's messaged me, and he said the same thing. I'm like, I'm not sure about this one. So obviously we've rung up, got in touch, and we said, look, it says we're at risk of kidnapping and things by government forces. Don't worry, that's who's going to be picking you up, and you're going to have an armed guard. Right, brilliant. Well, so you get to the bottom of the mountains. It's like a checkpoint and stuff, and that's where they take your passport off you and give you like a little paper slip, and then you head off up into the mountains, and obviously get it back when you get back. It's the most amazing venue I've ever been to, because it's like the president of Ingushetia at the time. It's just actually been changed, which is why one of the events got cancelled. But he puts it on for all his people. It's like a bit of a thank you kind of big celebration. So you're in the top of the mountains, like above like sort of cloud level, 23,000 people all there in this like makeshift sort of stadium that's just in the mountains. It is like, honestly, the most amazing venue I've ever been to.
Man, it sounds like something from a martial arts movie, doesn't it? Like fucking.
That's exactly what it is, yeah. And especially when they were doing the you've seen the night fighting they were doing, haven't you? Yeah. So there was all that sort of stuff going on as well. It's pretty crazy.
And I mean, like, if Ian Freeman's a bit flapping over it, Jesus Christ, that must be some scary shit.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think we've been there like four or five times now, and you start to get used to it. It's just like, we know this is how it's going to be. So it's really good, and we get looked after so one by the M1 guys. Like I say, we've done Japan, Kansas City, Kiev, Helsinki, Tokyo. I've been in Harbin just recently, which is right in the north of China. It's like minus 18 degrees. So they've got the ice palace there. You know, as you walk around, the palace made of ice and things. And then I was Shenzhen, which is right down the south. It's like the bit that's joined on to Hong Kong. So it's like the gateway to China from Hong Kong and stuff. So amazing places to go and see. And because I go the day before to do the weigh-ins, I announce the weigh-ins and stuff, so I've got an extra day there to look around and stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's good. It's not just that, you know, some of the times when I was just commentating, we'd fly in, do the work and fly back out, but I get a day now to have a look around, and it's good. It's good, you know.
I mean, like, it was sort of very similar when we went to Chechnya. So obviously, when Cage Warriors were the very first company to ever step foot into Chechnya after all of the troubles, and obviously, you know, you go onto the Home Office website and you type in Chechnya, and it's just like, do not fucking go there. Do not even think about it. And I was like, right, how are we going to get there? And they were like, right, you've got to fly from. So we had to fly from London to Moscow. Then we had to fly from Moscow to Dagestan.
Yeah.
And then we had to get a bus from Dagestan to Chechnya, and I'm like, what the fuck, mate? And it was Dollary at the time, from Cage Warriors, and he said, well, there's only one airline that flies from Moscow to Chechnya.
It's Aeroflot.
And but they only accept cash. They will not accept credit cards to buy tickets. And he said, we need fucking 200 tickets. He said, what do you want me to do? Fly to Moscow with a bag of cash? He's like, you can fuck off with that idea. So so we had to, and I mean, the aeroplane from Moscow to Dagestan was proper fucking old. Like, still had ashtrays in the handrests and all that. And it was like, I was like, wow. So anyway, we fucking lands in Dagestan. This is like Khabib's backyard, right? Yeah. And so when we landed, it was like middle of the night, 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever. And it was, so obviously the planes pulled up, and the terminal was basically like a fucking hut. Yeah, I mean, it's like, it was
with the it's just got the little revolving thing inside for your bags.
Yeah, and then, well, anyway, so all the bags, this was the thing, right? So then the bags get taken off the aeroplane and put onto a truck. And when I say a truck, I mean like an open-backed fucking truck, yeah? Like a dumper truck. So like no fucking baggage carousel, none of that. So this fucking bag, so that we've got off the plane, I'm stood next to the plane, like I'm stood in between the plane and this hut on the runway, and the bloke driving the truck is fucking smoking a cigarette. And I've just gone, am I all right to smoke a cigarette, mate? And he's like, yeah, if you want. I'm like, sound. So I'm stood on the runway next to the aeroplane, smoking a fag like that, going, well, would get shot for this in England, clearly. and then like you say, it's fucking, if you type in Dagestan into Google, it comes up, Dagestan war, Dagestan beheading, Dagestan massacre, and you're just like, what the fuck? You're like, what? And then we had a 2.5 hour drive through the fucking deepest, darkest of Russia into Chechnya. So yeah, it was pretty. I mean, looking back on it now, it was fucking pretty exciting stuff. But yeah, it was a bit of a pulsator at the time.
Good. Every time I go somewhere new like that with M1, it's exciting because you think, just what am I going to see? And it's a big difference as well, I think, from the north of Russia. You fly into Moscow, St. Petersburg, and I've done a fair few shows there, and then going down to sort of Rostov or Orenburg or Ingushetia or any of the southern parts. Very different, different people, different culture completely. I mean, Ingushetia, strictly no alcohol. Like I said, completely Muslim. So the ring girls are fully dressed and everything, and then you've got the complete difference in the north. St. Petersburg's very much like London. It's quite multicultural now. So it's funny. And the other thing is, I've flown into Moscow, and we were staying in the Olympic Stadium, and it was sweltering heat. Me and Ian Freeman walk around with no tops on, absolutely dripping, and going in to do the show. In your suit and everything, and my shirt's just soaked to me and stuff. And then I've been there when, St. Petersburg, when it's -10 and the rivers are frozen, so you have to properly check on the weather before you go. Pack completely the wrong stuff. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to turn up with my Russian hat on and it's minus and it's sunny weather. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So just taking a step back then. So I mean, you mentioned you were talking about your last fight. Let's sort of go back to the beginning. So, for those of our viewers or listeners who don't actually know, there is more than one Butlin. So you have a twin brother, Dave, and you have another brother, Andy, and all are accomplished fighters in their own right. So Andy was quite a high-level domestic professional boxer.
Well, if you talk about quite a high level, it was 10 years today since Andy boxed Billy Joe Saunders.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, so that came up on Facebook today. I mean, like, that was obviously, it was like a 6-round fight, wasn't it? So
it was. Billy Joe Saunders was on his way up. Andy got a phone call saying, look, there's a fight down at Upton Park. He's a prospect. Obviously, Andy was light middle, Billy Joe Saunders middleweight, but because obviously it was, only a couple of weeks' notice, like, do you want to fight him at middleweight? Good purse. And it was like, yeah, do you know what? I'll go down, and he gave him a good fight. He managed to share around. Billy Joe got the warning for the headbutt, getting frustrated. I think he was thinking he was going to have it all his own way, and he didn't. Headbutted Andy. Obviously, clearly won the fight, but Andy put up a good fight, and I think you got to get respect for getting in with someone the standard. The guys, the guys had something, I think it was like 78 amateur fights, and his only losses to the Olympic champion. Yeah. So it's that's a pretty decent record as an amateur, and then as a professional, we've still not seen him even in any trouble really yet. So.
Well, the talk is that the Billy Joe Saunders could be the man who could potentially give Lomachenko a run for his money.
Yeah, well, I think Canelo is the one they're talking, and if you look at the fight, the styles, the thing with Billy Joe Saunders is he just doesn't get involved. Do you know what I mean? He will absolutely box. I thought that the better fight for Billy Joe Saunders would be someone like GGG, because he could box him and move and whatever. But I think GGG's maybe getting to the end of his career, and I think they'll probably try to line up the fight with Canelo.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Callum Smith against Billy Joe Saunders as well.
Yeah. Well, Canelo's been using those Mexican taco supplements.
Yeah, a lot of Mexican beef.
I mean, look, I mean, there's no doubt about it. Canelo is a very, 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 very high level fighter. So, for your and for one of your brother's former opponents to be mentioned in the same breath as him is just, it puts a massive, massive shine on him. And I've seen Andy, in MMA fights as well. And he's a very, very tough guy, man, very tough guy. And your brother Dave as well. And it's. I've known all you guys, since the SF UK forum days, but more importantly, like face to face in person since that show in Portsmouth. And what was it like growing up with you guys at school and stuff like that? I mean, when did you actually start boxing? How old were you?
Well, we started doing judo first, so I'd basically was seeing the Karate Kid and stuff. I was about 8, 9 years old, and I wanted to do karate. My mum and dad's friend was the judo instructor, local judo instructor, so they sent us to judo. So I was like 8 years old. I did that till I was about 11 or 12, and then I got into Thai boxing. I was still wanting to do the boxing and stuff, really, but there was a Thai boxing club, so it was under Steve Haitley, called Rama Thai Boxing Camp. So I started doing the Thai boxing there, and then they moved to the YMCA in Huddersfield, which had the boxing upstairs. So basically, I'd go to the Thai boxing on a Sunday morning and then go upstairs and box afterwards. So that was from being like 11, 12.
And was that you and Dave together?
No, that was just me. Dave was never really like... Dave is not really one for being disciplined and being told what to do. You know what I mean?
I can see where that comes from.
Yeah, so although he trained and we'd spar together afterwards and stuff like that, he didn't really go to the classes, didn't do the grading and stuff. He'd done the judo, but the Thai boxing and boxing was just me. And then I got Andy and Dave sort of doing the boxing and stuff. And then it was a friend of mine who was a professional boxer. Another friend opened up a gym that was like a bodybuilding gym, but it had a big studio. And then we started working with him doing the boxing. His dad is one of the top amateur coaches in the country, produced top level guys like Gary Sykes and people like that. And so we started training under Midi, but then I boxed for his dad at the boxing club there. So then I focused then on the amateur boxing. Then Rawthorpe Boxing Club opened in Huddersfield. I was told, look, you're probably best going on here. And then I boxed for Rawthorpe for a while. That's where I did like national championships, Yorkshire title, won British University's gold, things like that. Boxed in Cyprus and the Seychelles for internationals. So that's when I focused nearly completely on the boxing then, until I always liked the martial arts and still was into, because I'd done the judo and I'd done the Thai boxing. And it was to do with Ken Shamrock, actually, is how we got into the MMA, because we were Googling stuff about the world's most dangerous man. There's a shop in Huddersfield that used to do the VHSs, and it was UFC 2 came out before UFC 1. So we got the UFC 2, and it was showing that Ken Shamrock had been in UFC 1 and all this. So, you're asking about and doing whatever, and then we found out there was a guy that had trained with the Shamrocks and fought for Shamrock 2000, which was Frank's offshoot of the Lion's Den. He trained at the Lion's Den, gone to Shamrock 2000, and then gone to fight in Pancras in Japan, and the guy lived in Halifax. I'm like, no way, this can't be right. Do you know what I mean? It's like 5 minutes away. So anyway, we get on, look on, and there he is on it was on. Do you remember on the SFUK forum they used to have all the clubs, didn't they?
Yeah.
So it was the guy, on there, Les Allen, Dragon's Gate in Halifax. So I went there, and that was around 2000. So I was still boxing at this time, but I'd started training at MMA, and his style, obviously, he'd train with Genki Sudo, people like that. So you'd see, like you see on the demos and stuff me and Dave do, it was all like sort of flying arm bars and crazy stuff, as well as, it wasn't sort of your traditional Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Yeah. So we trained that with Les, and I was, like I said, because I was boxing at a fairly decent level, I still carried on boxing. And then I fought in the national championships, which were always after the summer. They used to do the championships, and I fought. The way that the draw worked, I had to fight the Yorkshire title and the North East Counties title in the same night. So I've won the Yorkshire title, and I had a pretty tough fight against a guy from Hull. It was they got a good boxing team down in Hull, and I'd had a battle with him, and my eye was pretty badly swollen, like I'm black, like when you have a thick, like a mouse under your eye. Yeah. So then, because of the way the draw worked, I had to fight the North East Counties final later on. So they put there was a couple of us that had to fight twice. So they put that on left at the end of the show. So I've done a lot of relaxation stuff. And Les Allen was there in the corner, in the back with me. He couldn't come in the corner because of the ABA rules, but he's come in the back, and we're doing a lot of like the relaxations into the yoga and stuff like that. Got myself ready and got out to have a good positive fight for the North East Counties. And I've gone out, and when I got hit in the first round, I started feeling better. I could, like, the pressure from my eye had gone. But what's happened was it had burst the cut, which was below my eye, so it wasn't going into my eye or anything, but it had burst it, so it had released the pressure, and it was going down my face. And you know what these amateur referees are like in the boxing? They don't like even a slight hint of blood or anything like that. So the referee took me to the corner to wipe it and everything, and I'm like, I'm all right, ref, I'm all right, like that. And I'm thinking I'm going to get back in, and I felt I was winning the round. And the referee was just like waved it over, and I'm like, fuck this shit. Do you know what I mean? And I never went back into the boxing club again after that. Well, not till many years later. It like really put me off. Do you know what I mean? I'd already started the MMA. I was pissed off with the result. I felt that I could have won the fight. And after North East Counties final, you then go through to the quarters, semis, and finals for the nationals. And our Andy had just won the Yorkshire title and the North East Counties title, so it had been both of us, two brothers, going through to the quarterfinals, and it was just frustrating more than anything, because I did feel I was getting the better, and I just thought, this is just shit refereeing. It was inconsistent refereeing as so much as well, because I'd seen other fights where fighters are let carry on. And we were a fairly new club when Raw Thorpe opened, do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of the established clubs were getting a lot more favour from the referees and stuff than we did. So that's kind of what pushed me to just focus on the MMA then. And from there, I was training with Les like 5 times a week, like pretty intense training. And and people talk about Vale Tudo now, and I've said this a few times to people. They don't understand what Vale Tudo's like until you train somewhere like that. Like he trained. I see where he's coming from, and anyone who's trained at that gym, the guys like Spenner and people like that. Buster Reeves, everyone who was the main guys that have come from there will tell you it's hard training. Sometimes you're fighting bare knuckle. At best, you're wearing harbingers. Do you know what I mean? And it's like
with a palm bar.
Yeah, with the palm tip ripped out, and it was brutal training. It was tough, and we didn't know any different. And I think then and heel hooks in the gym and stuff, which is my knees have probably never recovered, because you don't realize you've got that ego. You don't realize how much it's damaging you. And And I stayed there for quite a few years. But Les had a thing where there was no competing. So while we were training there was no competing. Whereas my hunger was to compete. I'd stopped the boxing. I wanted to get back in and compete. And it wasn't until the argument that I had with Les, looked like a evil Bond villain there. Yeah, and it wasn't until the argument that we had with Les and then I left that then I got the opportunity to compete.
Yeah, because going back, obviously we were talking about your first professional fight was Cage Warriors 4, but before that you had a few amateur fights, and one of your notable wins on your amateur record was you beat Peter Irving in an amateur fight, didn't you? By triangle, no less.
That was semi-pro, yeah. It was the old semi-pro rule. So so no headshots on the floor, but headshots standing. So I did it. But what I'd done was, because obviously I'd boxed like at a fairly high level, so I was confident with the boxing. So Carl Tanswell ran something called the Submission League. Yeah. So what I did first was I jumped in the Submission League and had to go at the grappling, and did the grappling competitions first, just to get used to sort of grappling under pressure and competitive against someone. And I think there was a couple. So this was like early 2003, and then maybe there was a couple anyway in 2003, and then I think it was around the May-June. I got offered I was looking on, you're just looking for fights, and there was this Shotokai show, Mick Noakes, who ended up being Pride and Glory. So we jumped on that, and I fought Pete Irving, Andy fought a guy called Lee Jones, and Dave fought a guy called Gav Bradley. So that was so that was the three of us all on one show. I fought Pete, and Pete was, how good Pete is. He's got good Thai boxing, good grappling.
Yeah, I mean, now he's a very high level black belt now, isn't he?
Yeah, and he was good then. And the thing was, I just took the opportunity for a mistake he made. I think he was overconfident. He'd come out with, I'd gone throw some punches, and I was very much like the sort of boxing stance. I was heavy on my front foot, and Pete threw a body kick, which badly winded me. It was a solid body kick, but because I've got the sort of boxing stance and I'm heavy on my front leg, I took it right on my ribs. So when we've gone into clinch, then he's just lifted me up and slammed me on the floor. Yeah, so I think he's thought, I've got this guy. I've hit him with a solid kick, thrown him on the floor, and admittedly I was winded. I've spun myself around on the floor, so obviously my legs are between us, and he's gone for a cartwheel guard pass, trying to be fancy, I think, and obviously I was good enough to catch a triangle off someone doing a cartwheel guard pass. So he really threw himself into the finish. So and of a fight that he had a very good chance of winning, you know what I mean? So it's like, I take nothing away from the win, because I got a win, but it wasn't as easy as the 60 seconds looks on paper.
Well, that's it. I mean, now, like I say, because Pete went on to some very big things. He held a couple of titles. I cornered Dosky against him for the strike and submit welterweight title back in the day. So he did, and then obviously, he spent a bit of time in Brazil, and now he's, like I say, he's one of the sort of highest level black belts in the northeast of England now. And very, very well respected. So it's definitely a very, very worthy scalp on record there, mate. And then
I went on. Then I fought Rob Hannis. I don't know.
Oh right, yeah.
So Rob Hannis, I think he's a black belt now as well. But he was out of Nottingham. So I fought him on, and the rules were it was Lee Johnson's amateur show. So it was the first show that I could find, which was like headshots on the floor, but it was the bigger gloves and shin pads, which again was just like another little bit of a, to me, I'd never grappled in shin pads, and I didn't bother practicing before I got in. And that was another one that was unusual. And already then I should have probably realized that my wrestling wasn't as good as it should be. I submitted Rob Hannis again from my back. And I was taken down fairly easily. So the thing with the style that we did at Les's was it was very much a lot of technical groundwork and technical jiu-jitsu, or sort of kickboxing, boxing, which obviously I already had a fairly bit of a good background in, but there was no real wrestling, it was after, it wasn't until after a few pro fights that I thought, shit, I need to get in the wrestling. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So then, I'm just trying to.
Then I met you, Sledge.
That was it. And then it all went down. And then it all went downhill from there, didn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
So then I'm just having a quick look here. So you so that first fight that you had on Cage Warriors 4 was against Chris Freeborn. And again, so I'm having a quick look here, and a lot of your wins here are all coming by submission. So for someone that came from a boxing background, was you didn't do a lot of boxing when you got to MMA. You sort of jumped into the ground game straight away.
Well, this is pretty much where my point was from, is that it was only after the fight with Kim Hovgaard, which was my first loss, that I had a few wins, fought Kim Hovgaard, and I realised that, look, I need to work the wrestling. When you win, and you don't really, I mean, it's a lesson that I've learned, and I do, but you don't sort of look at yourself critically and go, right, I need to work on this. You just sort of celebrate, and especially because a lot of them were quite quick wins as well.
Yeah.
Then the fight with Kim Hovgaard, I was just completely out wrestled. Even when I worked myself standing against the fence back up to my feet, I was put straight back on my back. And it's at that point that I started working a lot of wrestling. And I'd say now, out of everything, and the guys that train with me will say the same, I focus a lot on wrestling, on teaching the wrestling, and the wrestling is probably my strongest area.
Yeah. Well, there was something, because you were putting up quite a few videos onto your YouTube channel, and I was having a quick look at some of them, and there was one of them which was like a sort of documentary you did, and it was where they were following you around, where you fought Chin on Cage 5, and I remember, because I was basically like behind I was sat in the front row, and this was like back in the day. I mean, like, this was in Caesars in Streatham, where
full of gangsters.
Exactly, it was full of gangsters. But if you had a VIP ticket for the tables, you could fucking touch the cage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there wasn't like these days, you go to a show and there's like a barrier around, and so the cornermen have got their own little section and all that. Yeah, there was none of this shit.
Pretty much in the
like you could actually, like, I remember, it was like, so my seat, you had him like in side control, and you're dropping elbows onto his head, and I'm going, right, Ian, adjust that, step that, and like properly giving you corner advice, and literally you were like 2 meters away from me. And like I say, I could fucking put my fingers through the cage if I wanted. It was
this was still when people were smoking at the side of the cage as well.
Yeah. I know that was it, because that was one of the, I remember, because that was it. The camera panned round the crowd, and everyone's sitting in the club smoking fags. That was fucking mental. I mean, like, I'm lucky that I've quit smoking now again, but for someone who smoked for a long time, even now I'm thinking to myself, fucking hell, I wouldn't like it if people were smoking indoors. That's fucking mental, isn't it?
I boxed in some working men's clubs where you're like in a cloud of smoke, all like loads of old guys smoking. It's like, what the hell? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
so you fought on some of the bigger shows, obviously Cage Warriors, Cage Rage, etc. But we're talking, this was 2004. It was a long time ago, when that at the time, that was the pinnacle of UK MMA. Obviously now things have developed quite a considerable amount. And then, like you say, you had your last fight in 2009, and then you've sort of spent now you've spent your time sort of working in the background, sort of same as myself, behind on the other side of the cage.
Yeah, so I did actually come out and box again.
I was about to bring that up
last year. Yeah, but that was just. It was mainly just to try and get the weight off. I just had to set myself a fight date so I could get myself back in shape, really. So.
Well, didn't you have something wrong with you?
Yeah. Well, basically,
you had an ulcer, didn't you?
I had an ulcer. I woke up in hospital in a pretty bad way. I'd lost like 4.5 pints of blood, and then had a seizure in A&E, and woke up on a table surrounded by doctors with pipes out of my arms and stuff, and my missus crying, and thinking, what the fuck's going on here? Do you know what I mean? I'd say pretty bad hangover, but you actually don't get a hangover because they pump it. There's this yellow bag thing, and it puts all the vitamins and everything like that into you. So, although it was a pretty serious bender that I'd been on, it was there was actually no hangover at all. I said to my missus, it's good that it's giving me the shock to stop, because if I knew where to get hold of that, I'd have it every Monday and just carry on the weekend.
Yeah. So that sort of so you had an ulcer, so it brought you back, and that's when you threw yourself back into your training again. And
yeah, so that was the April, and then it took me from April. I spoke to Danny Hornsby the month after. I went to a boxing show and I said, Danny, do you know what? I'm going to box again. I thought he knew what had happened. I'd helped him promote UCC and stuff like that. And our Andy was still boxing on some of his boxing shows. And I just said, listen, get me a fight for December. I'm going to fight. And he was like, do you think you can't say, listen, I'll get myself in shape and I'll fight. Just get me a good fight. So he was like, right, well, if you're you think you can do it, I'll do it. And I was like, yeah. So that was it. Put me on main event down at Bowlers for the Christmas special that he does, the end of year special.
Yeah. Well, I've actually done quite a lot of shows in that Bowlers. I know the venue quite well. So one of the boxing shows I work for, they put on shows there all the time. So yeah, it's a huge, very, very popular venue. So yeah, it was nice to see you get back into the old winning ways, mate. Yeah. So it was because I remember it was a few years ago when I came down. I was passing by Huddersfield and we went down for some of that Caribbean food.
Oh yeah.
And we had a nice munch, and then a few months later I've come back down again, and I was like, right, let's go for a nice fun munch, and you're like, no, I'm on a diet, mate. And I'm sitting there stuffing burgers in my face, and you're sitting there with a bottle of water. I was like, oh yeah, nice one, mate. Cheers.
Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, but. Hey, I got off. I was walking around about 109 kilos, and I got down to 83. So I got down to 13 stone, sort of 82.5 from 109. So it's a pretty big drop.
Yeah.
I say it went from me like starting off just walking around the block, and like literally just walking around the block to getting to the stage where I was doing a good pace 3-mile run, getting out 12 rounds on the bags, sparring. I was grappling. I started grappling again as well, because that's what I wanted to focus on. I'd already decided that I didn't want to do any headshots and stuff. But the boxing's the only way that I really know that I can get the weight off. It gives me that you're getting in a ring in front of all these people. You've got the pressure. So I didn't want to do any headshots. I'd been for a brain scan because I'd had memory problems and stuff, and I was worried that I had damage from years and years of boxing. I had some bad concussions, not so much in the MMA, but in the boxing, I had fights that I'd won, and I'd come out, I'm sat in the changing rooms, and I'm looking around thinking, have I fought yet? I wonder when I'm on. Do you know what I mean? I've already had a fight, and I'm having to look at the program, and when I'm looking at who's going out, I'm thinking, my name's before them. I must have already fought, and I'm just thinking, don't tell no one. Do you know what I mean? You don't want anyone to know. So I know that I'd had a lot of heavy shots, so when I was having the memory problems and stuff, and it was, pretty much like I had complete blanks. My missus would be telling me something. I'm like, well, I don't remember that happening. So I went and the doctor gave me a brain scan and everything. And long story short, it was they said it's down to drugs and alcohol because you've got no physical damage to your brain. So, like, it's just, I knew it was one or the other. Do you know what I mean? So I've done 2 years, 2 months now without a touch of alcohol, anything. Not even so much as an aspirin. Do you know what I mean? And I do like the brain training and things like that. I've got the dual MBAC, which is like a brain training thing, and just sort of some other things that I do to sort of exercise the brain, and I feel probably sharper than I ever have done. Physically wise, fitness wise as well, I feel I'm as strong as I've ever been. I'm fairly fit. I still struggle if I don't watch my weight, putting the weight on. I put weight on fairly quick, but you've seen the sort of stuff I eat, Sledge. I'm a food fan, you know what I mean?
Preach into the fucking choir, bro. I was like, so I was supposed to box at the end of March, and so 1st of January, I was 121 kilos.
I was watching your progress, yeah.
And within 10 weeks later, I was 108. So I worked it out that I'd lost 60 pounds of fat. Yeah. which no, sorry, 30 pounds of fat. Yeah, so I'd
Still
lost
a considerable amount. Yeah.
I'd lost basically in 10 weeks. I'd lost 30 pounds of fat. And, you know, like I say, I was swimming because I've got a dodgy knee. I can't run, but I was in the, so basically I was in the pool at 6:30 every morning for an hour. And then I was either lifting weights or I was boxing every single day. And I was like that, so bump. And I was, you know, I was looking to get down. I wanted to get down to like, you know, the idea was that I could get down to like 105 for fight time. And then the idea was then I was going to do it again and try and get down to 95 for the next time. But unfortunately, my sparring partner and my weak face had other ideas. And yeah, I just fucking walked into a shot. And that was on the Sunday.
And that wasn't your son, was it?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I'm glad it wasn't. It was someone who was a lot bigger and scarier. So there's a lad down the gym who's he's young, he's like in his mid-20s, he's 100 kilos of solid muscle, and he's fucking good. And there's me, you know, fucking mid-40s, fucking recovering fat alky, thinking I can still mix it up like I used to fucking 20 years ago. And yeah, our sharp found that was a bad idea. But luckily, I mean, as I was saying to Joe earlier, you know, if you're gonna smash your face in, there's no better time to do it than the week before the fucking country goes into lockdown. Yeah. Like I said, that Sunday, I went to the hospital on the Monday, and they straight away gave me a CT scan, and the doctor was like, you fucked your eye up, something not right. So I had several fractures in my eye socket. And so then I had to go up to Oxford and have an operation, and they put a titanium plate into my eye socket. So yeah, so it's but like I say, I went and had the all clear this morning. So unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it. Wish we could go back and start training. So but yeah, so hopefully, like I mean, I was actually having a look. There's other places in the world now, like Australia have reopened bars and restaurants. New Zealand have opened places in America. So I don't think it's going to be too long until the gyms reopen. So but it's you say about the weight. So yeah, so like I say, I was down at 108. And then I've come out of the hospital knowing I'm not boxing. So me and Joe went straight down to TGI Fridays, fucking loaded up with the TGIs. And then I've just taken that as license to fucking eat anything I want. And I'm back up at 120 kilos again, like a proper fat cunt.
It's easy done, isn't it? It's easy.
Yeah, fucking hard to get off, mate, but it's easy to put on. So yeah.
Well, I had my first grapple yesterday. I've been grappling my son, like I said, but I had a grapple with a couple of lads yesterday, two of the better guys we've got. And I've had an injury on my knee. It's on my LCL. So I've been I grappled my son, and I've had a little bit of pain. So I was like, oh God, it's not got better. But I've had a grapple yesterday, and I feel all right. I walked for about 3 hours afterwards. Me, Andy, and the families walked off up in the woods, and real long walk. And I think it's done me the world of good. You know, just getting the blood pumping around that area and stuff after doing and then I've been on the foam roll. I've been on the foam roll again this morning. So I'm hoping that the one good thing I'm going to have from this lockdown, other than the fact that the government keep throwing money at us, the other good thing is that I think my leg's going to be better. So hopefully, I'd like to jump back into some of these masters competitions. You know, I'm only 40. Yeah. So there's always like, you know, see guys like Aaron Chatfield are still competing at 50. So surely I've got, you know, a bit more time to get some competitions in.
Yeah, for sure. So so two more things. Number one, there was something else that happened to you and Dave during your fighting career, which was something that was very, very exciting. So you and Dave got selected or chosen or picked to be on Danny Dyer's Hardest Men. Tell us about how that came about.
There was a couple of the guys that were on the first season knew us, and they spoke to the production company.
Yeah.
You know, obviously they sort of say, you know, who would be good to be on the next one. So I think it come from them, and then through Andy Lillis, he'd spoke to the production company, obviously through the link with Barrington Patterson and stuff. So I got a phone call, and I was in the hospital at the time. I think my son had cracked his head open or something. I just remember being in the hospital, I get this phone call saying, "Look, do you fancy doing this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it sounds all right." So I'd agreed to do it all, and then I spoke to Dave, and Dave was like, "We're doing what?" I'm like, "It'll be all right, Dave. Go on, it'll be a laugh." You know what I mean? But he wasn't really that up for it. Dave's quite different to me, as you know. He's not really like that outgoing, and he can't be asked talking to people. And he's like, I don't know, this guy is not that asked. I'm like, Dave, you've seen The Business. It's good. You like it. He's the guy in that. Do you know what I mean? Oh yeah, he's like, yeah, that's all right. That I'm saying, come on, it'll be all right. We'll have a laugh. But by the end of it, they were getting on good. Do you know what I mean? Danny Guy's he's a proper good guy, like proper nice guy. You've met him as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I did a show with him. So it was after that. It was not long after that. He was brought in as like a guest of honor at this show I did in Exeter, and me and him got right on it after the show. We were talking about you and Dave and that, so it was a bit of an icebreaker. You know, obviously he didn't know me and what have you, and I'm going, oh yeah, you know my mates the Butlins. He's like, oh fucking hell. It was quite cool, man. And then there was another thing that obviously we had Tomo on the other day. And we were regaling some of the stories with regards to how Widge is that unattractive, even a paedophile wouldn't touch him. And I believe that you wanted to say something about Widge as well, didn't you?
No, it's not that I wanted to say something about him. It's just you obviously brought up Widge, and it just reminded me that he's a cunt. So, so we had a team called the Northern Cartel. So the Northern Cartel was basically a selection of gyms, and it was because we were all training together. At the time, you've got to think, like 2002, 2003, there weren't that many sort of big gyms putting out competitors. Now, we didn't have a gym initially when I left Dragon's Gate from Les Allens. So the first place I trained was Neil Hall's Fighting Chance with Spenner, Carl Fisher, guys like that were there. And then I got in touch there in Chatfield on the SFUK forum, trained at the Coliseum. That's where I met Widge, his brother, Danny Rushton, Danny Wallace, and the guys there, Paul Ramsdale. So good training there. And then I was teaching kickboxing in Salford at the time. So we started doing MMA from there as well, because we had a ring there, we had mats and everything. So we were all training together quite regularly. I was also training with Ozzy Haluk and the guys there at what became Manchester Ground and Pound. So what happened was, when people are matching up for fights, a lot of the times they were trying to match us against each other, but we're training together all the time. So what we did was we formed the gyms, the Coliseum, what was Quantum, Fighting Chance, and Spenner's gym, which later became Falinka's, and I can't remember what it was at the time, but we formed them all together as the Northern Cartel. So in that respect, Widge is part of my team. Would you agree? Yeah. Northern Cartel. So I fight Chris Freeborn for the on that Cage Warriors card. I then go on to Ultimate Combat. I beat Mark Duncan. I get another few wins, all decent submission wins. So Dougie Truman offers me the title fight on Cage Warriors.
Yeah.
So that was Cage Warriors 5. That was going to be, and I was fighting Paul McVeigh. Anyway, and Dave fought Brian Blewett, if you remember.
I do. Brian blew it.
Yeah, Brian actually blew it. Yeah. So, so then what happened then? The week of the fight, Paul couldn't fight, so Paul pulled out a few days before. So what happened was Dougie put me against Emmanuel Fernandez for the vacant title on the next show, which was the first Cage Warriors show that I actually helped promote. So me and Aaron Chatfield promoted the show at Barnes and Metrodome.
Yeah.
So obviously, as we're promoting it, we're putting people together. So we put Widge on as timekeeper, right? So I'm fighting the main event against Emmanuel Fernandez. Widge is the timekeeper. We've got all the corners. We're all doing whatever. Now, I learned some lessons from this fight. One of them being, don't be worried about someone just because they've got a black belt. Because I fought against Fernandez, I was a bit too overcautious because I was a blue belt at the time. He's a black belt. I'm thinking, you know, I can't go to the floor with him or whatever. And I ended up, when I did go to the floor, I was working up to get a triangle. This is the guy they called Pythagoras because he was triangling everybody. And in my head, I'm thinking, you're not going to get the triangle, you know what I mean? And in my head now, I think I could have, but I just didn't go for it. And it was more out of nerves than anything. Just that image in my head that you can't beat a black belt because I'm not a black belt. So anyway, I worked to his, I've worked my legs up, and it's coming to the end of the round, so I'm hearing this 30 seconds left from the corner. So I'm thinking I'll go for something, and then we'll get swept over, and we sweep over, and I end up in his triangle. But fighting the triangle, I know there's only 30 seconds left, yeah? Or there was before I started this sweep. So I'm holding the triangle, I tapped with 1 second left, yeah? Now what I'm saying is, Widge was on my team, yeah? He saw I've been a triangle, and he's doing the timekeeping. Stop the fucking clock. Like, seriously, if that was me and it was the other way around, and Widge was in a triangle and I'm the timekeeper, 2 seconds aren't going to make any difference to me.
4:58, you know.
It's like the corner going, oh, you stopped it. Did I fuck? Your clock's wrong. Do you know what I mean? He could have saved me. I could have got back up and then I've got a chance to reset. So I blame not having the Cage Warriors title on Widge.
Yeah, well, yeah. I absolutely.
Honestly, fully blame him. So I have pulled him on it a few times, yeah. And do you remember Andy Cooper from Wakefield?
Yeah, well,
right.
And Andy Cooper was a proper fucking hard man.
Oh, hard man, very, very hard man, yeah. So anyway, Widge's excuse is Andy Cooper was next to me and I didn't dare press the button.
Yeah, I've heard him say that, the fucking prick.
Yeah. So, but either way, so really, I think the only thing that can really happen to solve this is Widge fights me for the Cage Warriors Troll title. Oh, well, in fact, there is no other solution. That's it.
Well, I'll happily MC.
Is that a call out?
Yeah, that's a full call out. Yeah,
that's a full call out for Widge, is it?
Yeah, oh, and I want Andy Cooper to time keep.
Oh man. Well, listen, Ian, it's been fucking awesome. So just before we go, just one final thing then. So obviously there is a show tomorrow. So obviously we're recording this Friday. So tomorrow night is Saturday night, which is UFC Fight Night 172. And obviously it's not not the greatest card known to man. There are a couple of big names on it sort of further on down the card. You've got Matt Brown fighting. You've got further up the card, you've got Edson Barboza, Claudia Gadeja, Angela Hill, etc. But, all of that to one side, the main event. So the main event is Alistair Overeem, the Reem, versus Walt Harris. So what's your opinions on that main event there, mate?
Well, I'll answer that firstly with a question. Is it somewhere where they do testing?
Yeah, well, I believe it is very
Florida
much.
Again, isn't it?
I believe it is very much in the USADA testing pool.
Right. Well, I think if it's not Overeem fighting, then I think maybe he's might have a few problems.
Yeah.
I just think Alistair's an absolute exceptional legend, but maybe he's had his time, and without the help of a little bit of TRT, I just don't think that he's got what he had.
What you mean the horse meat? Was that what you were talking about?
Yeah. I think he goes for meals at Canelo's house.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's coming off a loss where he got his lip split open from that roast.
It was a bad cut, that wasn't it?
Yeah. And but he can, even though he can still mix it up.
Listen, he's always dangerous. You saw what he did to Brock Lesnar. He's when he smells blood, he goes in for the kill. And
for sure.
You never want to go against him. I just don't think he's been as good recently as he has. He's very well past his best. But do you know what? I'd like him to win because he's been one of my favorite fighters for a very long time. Him and his brother, I remember from the old days, and and they're still there now fighting at the highest level. You've got to give respect to that.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, he's fighting that Walt Harris now. I mean, that Walt Harris, he fought Mark Godbeer, who was also a guest on the podcast a few years ago. So, I wasn't a fan of his just because he was fighting my mate, that old chestnut. But you know, he's been on a bit of a tear recently, and he beat that Olenek, you know, who's that Alexei Olenek, who beat Verdum last week. So you know, he's he's coming up with quite a high level.
And he doesn't lose easily. He's, you know, he might be a bit of a plodding kind of. He's got the good submissions, hasn't he? He's a plodding kind of. He's got that Russian style, but a lot like slowed down. It's like he fights in slow motion, but he's very, very tough, and that's a good win. We saw what he did to Verdum last week, so.
Excellent. Well, let's see what happens then.
I mean, for the record, you know, obviously you're saying there's the fights tonight, but if you download the M1 Global app, it's free. And there's fights on there all the time. You can watch all the back issues of M1 for all the fights for free on the app. You can download it for free, and you can watch these live events like the ones that are going on now in Belarus, the one that I'm going to be working on now. You can watch them live for like £2, something like that, £2-3. So if you're missing out on MMA and you want good quality, like I said, the Russians have put on some excellent events, and this the fighting league that I'm doing the commentary for is basically, it's like a road to M1. So while M1's not putting on any of their bigger shows, which I believe we're going to have one in autumn, hopefully, but while they're not putting on their shows, you can get on the M1 app and you can watch this road to M1, and they're doing the 8-man tournaments for the guys, you know, every weight. They've got an 8-man tournament at every weight to see who gets through to fight in M1. So it's, you know, you can imagine they're fighting for a big contract there, especially with the deal M1 have got with UFC. It's a very good stepping stone. So
yeah, that's a definitive path to the UFC.
No one fights like hungry Russians.
Well, you preempted what I was going to say there. I was about to say, is there anything you want to promote? So obviously you're promoting your M1 stuff there. Give everybody any social media that you want followed, stuff like that.
Yeah, well, basically, it's Rio Grappling Club is my team Quantum, as we have been for 20 years now. In MMA and kickboxing, we've had Team Quantum, which is also with my brother. So I'm on Instagram at Ian M16 Butlin or Ian M16 Butlin on Facebook. I've gone off Twitter because I don't like arguing with people. Well, I do like arguing with people, but I just get too drawn into it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, and I have to have a little bit of a life. So I've been back on Facebook for about probably just for this year. I went off for 3 years because my friend got murdered by the police 3 years ago in January. So I came off then because I was sick of arguing with people that didn't know anything about the situation. Once all that got done, I'm back on. So yeah, Ian M16 Butlin is my sort of MMA page, and Ian M16 Butlin on Instagram.
Excellent. All right. Well, listen, Ian, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate, to have you on. I've really, really enjoyed it. And what we'll do is hopefully we'll see you at an event at some point in the future.
Oh, you definitely will. All right. Cheers, guys.
All right. And cheers, Ian. See you later, mate.
Right. Cheers, mate.
Hey, there we go. Right. So, cool. Yeah, that was nice to have a catch up. And we'll have to promote the fact that Ian is calling out Widge the cunt. And we'll get that pimping out across all forms of social media. So once again,
put that on.
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, if you want to contact us at the Oil Check, you can do so telephone or text on 07510 954 793. You can email us on theoilcheck@hotmail.com, and you can contact us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at the Oil Check. And yourself, Joseph, how can people find you?
I'm on Facebook, Joe Pennick, and on Twitter at Joe Pennick.
Excellent. And once again, you can get me on Facebook, Andy Sledge. You can get me on Twitter at Andy Sledge, and on the unfortunate dot at Instagram, Andy.Sledge. And again, don't forget to abuse the fake Andy Sledge on Instagram at Andy Sledge, the motherfucker that has my handle. So that's it.
Yeah.
That's it for today's episode. So it was an absolute pleasure to have Ian on. So we're going to be uploading this onto YouTube very, very soon. And then we're going to be back at the next, for the next UFC, which I don't know exactly when it is yet.
2 weeks' time, isn't it?
Weekend? Or is it 2 weeks' time?
I think it's 2 weeks now, yeah.
we feel like we're being spoilt now because we're getting them every couple of days. So, but we're before the next UFC, we'll get on. There's a few different people that we're angling to get on as guests. So we shall definitely have more guests on, and we shall enjoy speaking to them. So, like I say, that's it from me, your imitable host, Andy Sledge, and my partner in crime there, Mr. Joe Pennick. And we will be back very, very soon with the next episode. Keep fingering those arseholes, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.